Hello all, greetings wherever you are dialing from. This is Anand Chandra from Accolite Digital. Welcome to yet another session on LinkedIn Live. And we continue to share thought leadership through the platform. We concluded our first session on AI last week and more to come. And in today's session, we are looking at Appian and where does it fits into the gamut of the fintech within the financial services world. So what we have done is over the last course, we have built an accelerator in partnership with Appian and Nextwave. And joining me today is Phil Kent, who will introduce himself as part of the presentation, and Sanjay Joshi, our architect on Appian. So without any further ado, I'll do a quick introduction of Accolite. I'll set the stage on the interlock of fintech within the financial services space, and then I hand it over to Phil. And from there on, we will take a deep dive into the Appian EUC Manager. A quick introduction. We are a niche digital product engineering firm, 3,000 people strong, globally delivering transformation across US, Europe, and very recently we have started our operations in Mexico and Sri Lanka and Budapest. We have a very large development center out of India, and we deliver transformation across the gamut of Fortune 500, across the banking, financial services, insurance, technology, media, telecom, and healthcare. Our core capabilities in terms of digital competency is product strategy and experience design, cloud engineering, data, artificial and AI, and then cybersecurity and automation is the upcoming. And from an automation perspective, this is where the likes of Appian fits into the gamut, and we are working very closely on our initial engagements on how to build that out across our financial services gamut. So that's about Accolite. This is where I belong, and our focus within financial services is across the middle office and back office aspects of the business, from prime brokerage, private banking, wealth management, treasury and funding IT. And from an asset class, we cut across equities, fixed income, listed and OTC products. We have sizable engagements within the reference data part of the world. We are enabling certain regulatory change programs, and that is where some of our work on recon and feed onboarding feature into. We have a very strong focus on InsurTech, and which is where we are looking at it from an insurance as the next generation insurance 2.0, as we call it, which is largely AI-based, e-point of sale, client onboarding, and models that are largely deriving the next generation insurance. That is where our focus is. Very recently, last 12 to 14 months, we have started to work on fintechs and some marquee engagements that we are doing, including crypto platform that we are building for one of our customers. So rich experience within the banking financial services space. And in my capacity, I'm one of the growth leaders and super excited to be part of the transformation programs that me and my team are delivering across the geographies. So that's a quick background on where does banking financial services fits in within the Accolite gamut of the business. Now, touching upon the topic today, Appian EUC Manager. Now, taking a step back, Appian is part of the FinTech gamut. It is the industry-leading automation suite, and Phil would cover on where does it fits in and what benefits it draws in specifically on the risk and finance IT as well. But you would see there is a strong interlock of FinTech, which used to be a competition for a traditional bank, and now there is a very strong synergy and interpolation that is happening, and it spans across retail, corporate, insurance, investment banking, and wealth and advisory. In certain places, it is leading the charge on emerging tech and innovation. In certain places, it is still finding its footing. Needless to say, there is a very strong focus of fintech that is now nurturing across the life cycle of the traditional banking gamut as we see. And then there are the cross-cutting functions, which is where majority of the fintech penetration has happened in last 12 to 24 months. And one such example is what we're going to look at today is the Appian EUC Manager from a risk and finance IT perspective. So without taking even more time, and I would hand it off to Phil now, who would walk us through the introduction of himself, Nextwave, where does Appian fits in, and from there on to the demo. So please enjoy and stay back for the session. Phil, all yours.
Thanks, Anand. As Anand said, I'm just going to share my screen, just give a couple of slides on our background, and just say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are watching from. From background from a Nextwave perspective, as Anand said, I'm Phil Kent, a partner at Nextwave, and I oversee the digital enablement practice. The background of Nextwave is we're specifically a digital acceleration consultancy for the finance industry. So our unique selling points are the senior management team all have deep industry experience, managing director, chief information officer experience across the finance industry. We all have practitioner experience. So from an execution perspective, we've sat in the customer's shoes, we've delivered big multi-year change programs. We understand the challenges, the politics of being on that customer side. And because of that hands-on understanding, we sort of get the opportunities as well. Together with sort of the experiences, our stable of technology partnerships. The one we specifically brought together here with Appian as what we consider the best-in-class workflow case management tool, and we'll show it to great effect with the end-user compute manager here. But they're all chosen around the paradigm-changing capabilities, the speed, efficiency, and accuracy you can get. And within the Appian space, we're actually award winners. For 2020-21 Innovation Awards, and we've got deep experience with Appian. Going on to the next slide. So industry trends, just generally for the finance industry, we just put together some sort of thoughts around this, and I'll talk to some of our offerings later, but the challenges that we're seeing across the board when we talk to chief risk officers, chief financial officers, are that manual activities are just driving too much of the effort. They're taking all of the oxygen in the room. The outputs are necessarily rearward facing, but really the effort's been taken in the production of those rather than providing the insight in them. The number of moving parts is exponentially increasing. So whether that's because of higher frequency, needing to get the data quicker, more data coming in as more channels become available, and of course the cost pressures because margins have been under intense pressure, return on equity, return on tangible equity, all of those measures require that costs are driven down. So like the two wheels of the bicycle, you need to drive your revenues up, your costs down. So all this additional work coming in is driving a lot of, pushing a lot of pressure. Equally, for projects like end user compute elimination, there's opportunities to be had from a business perspective. So whether it's in being able to better business partner, be able to provide insight, better decision making for the business because they've got either more timely data, more accurate data, or new data that provides more insight, preferably all three of them. The insight to that data, so what are the signals within the data? How do you actually make sure you're genuinely profitable? So like that intellectual honesty. And then the cost management, being the standard bearer for costs across the organisation and evidencing that you can deliver better whilst pushing down the costs. And then the operational speed, accuracy and efficiency. The more moving parts, the longer it takes. The data's out of date from a decision-making process by the time you've got it. But if you can start getting rid of these end-user computes, then you'll be able to start compressing down the time, effort and cost. A lot of this is anchored in sort of what are the skills of the future. And we talk about sort of like legacy terms versus what the future-facing terms are. So things like data science over data engineering, providing insight rather than just managing and manipulating data, root cause solutions over patching, automation over manual processes, and then forward insight over rearward reporting. And they all require different skills, different mindsets to actually deliver. So from an end user compute, from an Appian perspective, we just put together this quick slide on why Appian, from our perspective, is absolutely top tier. And for those that already know this, I apologise. And those that are already using it, chances are some of you dialed in. But we see it as the leading low-code solution. So the data anywhere concept, so you're not copying data around. The full stack automation, so you can integrate now, particularly with the new portals for outward facing, the process mining technology that's recently been integrated, the robotics. It's all under one cover, so you're not having to go to different solutions. Design once, deploy anywhere. So certainly a lot of the apps that we've built have mobile access as well as sort of from the desktop and from tablets. And then innovation enabler. This was one I found when I was client side phenomenally valuable, but because you can turn things around in sort of typically sort of 20 times quicker than traditional technologies, it gives you a chance to experiment. You can try things out without having months and months of lead time between them. It also means you can converge on the ideal better, so you can tweak things. The customers that we've worked with Appian from a Nextwave perspective, so top tier banks, retail insurance, we've done market underwriters, the asset managers, and we've worked across front office, finance, risk, compliance, and financial crime. From a target operating model, we also do what does the finance of the future powered by Appian look like, risk of the future, compliance of the future, financial crime of the future. Then sort of end user compute manager and overview. So from an EUC perspective, some organizations call them UDA, end user developed applications. It's important to understand why they exist in the first place. I had a senior operations person, so as I was running some of the projects to get rid of the spreadsheets, they said, Phil, just remember, people don't create these because they want to. They create them because they have to have them to get their jobs done. And the underlying reasons that sort of mean that they're there, we've just picked out a few of them. It's either the business is moving faster than the systems can support, incomplete change deliveries resulting in manual workarounds. I'm sure everyone's been there when sort of like the go live sign off and there's something missing around the edge or something last minute found. We'll just put a manual process in, almost always result in an Excel spreadsheet. The data quality fixes when data shifts in the front office and you receive it in, say, finance or risk and you have to modify it. Or cost return equation just not balancing. It's seen as such a small piece of work that it never quite makes it onto the agenda. The risks of the end user compute, apart from the fines when things go wrong, which is sort of ramping up, but you've got a lack of transparency in there. Do you know what's really going on in those spreadsheets? They're not under source code control. They're not under any form of versioning. Which version was run when? When was it run? What were the inputs and outputs? All the stuff that you take for granted with the system, you've not got that audit with these end user computes. The lack of repeatability, again, if you run the same process twice, are you really guaranteed to get the same output each time? The time and effort that gets sunk into running these is absolutely huge. Just imagine sort of like it only takes an hour to run, but then it fails, and you have to go and check what's going on. Fails because the file got too big in Excel, and it just consumes more and more time. And one that I certainly found on more than one occasion was the risk to strategic change initiatives. You've effectively got business logic federated in all of these EUCs across the organisation, and they can trip up your strategic change. So with End User Compute Manager, what we've built is both a domain list of what your end user computes are with all of the approval channels on it, but the focus is on how do you eliminate them. And we've got a process that we go through to try and bring down or track the elimination of these end user computes. Because once you start to get rid of them, you start to, well, aside from reducing costs, you reduce your cycle time, you improve the operational risk around the organisation. Your sensitivity to volumes comes down. You reduce you make change more predictable because you effectively codify your organisation better. And certainly what I've seen in the past, I mean, in my career, I've probably spent 20 years getting rid of spreadsheets, as I was reminded recently. The more and more you can get rid of them, the easier it is to drive change in an organisation. So the focus for us on driving this elimination is around, it's a continuous process as well. It's embedded as a BAU process rather than one-off moves to different technology or moves sort of like a one-off remediation exercise, because the moment you stop doing it, your situation will decay. They will come back again. They'll spring up like weeds after on a freshly laid patio. They will come back up through the gaps. So you need to make sure that you've got both the mindset, the skill set, the tooling, such that people reach for different tools that are controlled when they need to solve a problem. Or you've got tooling in there that can be changed to keep pace with, say, the business. So it's not just a one-off situation here. And within the End User Compute Manager, we do things that you'd expect for operational resilience, so capturing key data, location, the system information. We also capture issues, risks, actions, and controls, and we'll get to the demo very shortly. Because a key thing around these managing the spreadsheets is, along with sort of trying to get rid of them, you do have to accept they're with you. So if you have a new version of Excel come out or a new Windows that you need to deploy to your desktops, how do you track that every single spreadsheet actually works in that new configuration? How do you capture the sign-offs? How do you capture the remediation? So we capture all of that within the End User Compute Manager. So what I'll do is now hand over to Sanjay and just walk through a quick demonstration of the End User Compute Manager, and we'll walk through creating a new End User Compute so you can see some of that functionality. Sanjay, if I stop sharing, I'll hand over to you.
Sure, Phil, thank you. Thanks a lot. So introduce myself, I'm Sanjay Joshi. I'm part of Accolite Appian COE team. I do have exposure on Appian application development and their maintenance. And I've been working for Appian for almost like 5+ years. Along with that, I have exposures on robotics process automation. Okay, I'll quickly share my screen and start the presentation. Let me know when you can see.
All yours.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to give you a walkthrough of the home page of the End User Compute Manager site. So as you can see, as the user log in, they will see this home page, and it will list out all the details which are related to the logged in user only. As you can see, we have a button called Add New EUC Application, which will help them to create and add a new End User Compute app to the system. Then we have the metrics, which is showing the count of end user computes, the related issues, risk and actions, where the logged in user is either approver or owner or the creator. So you can see this particular user having 187 EUCs which he owns. Just for an example, then we have the my task list, which will list out all the work which the logged in user need to complete, and it will list out all those activities over here. The user will be notified for the overdue task as well, and if they think that this particular work is not for them, they can reassign that work to someone else by clicking of this button. Then we have the collaboration update, which will have the list of all the collaboration updates of the EUCs where this user is either approver or owner. And once the user read the particular collaboration update, then that notification will go from here. So it's a part of notification for the user. Then we have the list for the end user compute summary, which will list out all the EUCs where this user is either owner or approver. And the user can do the filter on the basis of business unit, where if he just want to see the finance data, then he can do so. Along with that, we have other filters of status, the triage state, the next review dates. So that is for the end user compute summary. Then we have a list of issue summaries, which will list out all the issues where the user is part of creator or the owner, and the user can again do the filter on the basis of issue state and the next review dates. And we have an action of add new issues. With the help of this one, the user can add new issues against any of the EUCs. Then we have a list for the risk summary. Again, this will list out all the risk where the user is part of creator and either creator or the owner, and the result can be narrowed down by the filter of risk state and next review date. Again, we have a related action called add new risk. With the help of this, the user can add new risk for any of the EUCs. Then the last but not the least, action summary, which will list out all the actions which are available in the system where this particular user is either creator or the owner. And again, this user can do the filter on the basis of action state as well as on the action priority. And we have this action. With the help of this, the user can create a new action for any of the EUCs. So that was for the home page brief. Over to you, Phil.
Yeah, thank you, Sanjay. So what we're going to do is just go ahead and create an EUC image on here as an example. But what I would say is one of the key things that's important for any application that's used in finance or anywhere is the usability. And one of the great benefits of Appian is how usable, the UX design is very intuitive. Some people may only be coming into this interface so like once a month, once a quarter. I remember having to go in and sign things off on that sort of periodic basis. But having to learn an interface or remember where everything is, when you're only accessing a system on that sort of frequency, it's incredibly important as minimal friction as possible for you when you're doing your activities. If you're the owner of an end user compute, for example, you may have to go in only once or twice a year to say you've reviewed or approved an EUC. You don't want to be spending half an hour just remembering how things work. So that is a key benefit to Appian. So Sanjay, if I could just give the background. The example application we're going to capture here is so typical thing we see in a finance function where there's a spreadsheet to pull out a premium from an insurance line, take a percentage of that for the UK, for example, say 8% for the insurance premium tax, and then generate some two journals, one to reduce the premium amounts by the tax and one to assign the premium amount to a different account line so it's separated out. Now, when I talk about the sort of like elimination elements to this, the reality is that spreadsheet just should not exist. The problem is on the inbound to the process, there was the premium was sent through without the tax split out, so it couldn't be routed in. Where you put that business logic is then sort of your decision as an owner. Should it be in your mapping rules? Do you contain that business logic in your posting rules for the ledger? Do you get the front office system to send it right the first time? There's all sorts of options. But equally, almost the worst case scenario is wait for it to get posted, then on a month-end basis, go and adjust it over. So, Sanjay, let's go ahead and create our insurance premium tax adjustment EUC. So what we're doing here is capturing some key information, just headline information about the EUC. Which business unit is it? So here we've got finance and risk, who the approver is going to be, and then we put in a target retirement date and next review date. We've got some text that we can put in here against the usage and the description, but this is all around sort of getting information captured around these spreadsheets. Now we'll go on to the operational tab, where we capture information about the operational resilience, the actual operational execution. So from a location perspective, I could then do a report on all of my EUCs that are in one or more locations. What's the underlying technology? Not all of it's Excel, some of it could be SAS, it could be Python underneath. Risk level and impact level enables me to do filters by what are the high impact end user computes. At the end of the day, some processes are still best done on an EUC. So if it's a rapid sort of iteration or something like that, then yeah, Excel is fine. It's like an accept bucket. But really, when you're managing this end user compute risk, if you've got the senior manager responsibility over the top of this, you want to be focused on what are your highs and criticals. So you can capture that in here and again drive reporting. We've got the dependencies on there, so you can again, if you've got a change in an upstream or downstream system, you can pull out all of the spreadsheets that actually do something that's either input or output to that system. And being Appian, it can connect into your preferred asset management and have real-time lookups to which systems they should be dropped down in. And then your storage location. So for the most critical ones, I would hope most organizations have now got away from home paths and got these in Git repositories, but different options, so let's say, where does it actually exist? Okay, let's look at the controls, Sanjay. So from a control type, we've just put a couple of examples in here. You can put whatever ones you want, but we're saying this is an internal control. We put it around operational risk, but again, all of these drop downs you can configure for your own organization, and which part of the process framework does it link into and how frequently is it run. So you've got more detail around how it's actually run, and you can put supporting documents on here as well. So if you want sign-offs, that sort of thing, design documents, anything around the document to go in. Thank you, Sanjay. Let's go to the triage. And on the triage here, this is really when we sat down and started looking at end user compute manager, I look back at all the times I've done this in my career and said, well, really this is about getting rid of the EUC. So we start with the triage part. How do we bucket everything to make sure that we're actually going to be eliminating in the correct buckets? Put everything in data, for this one, we're saying it's of data quality, because really we ought to have data quality fixed on the inbound. We can say where we need the system fixing, so it's in the insurance underwriting system. I can give a resolution owner when my expected date is, and we can also capture the triage date and when the actual triage is. So really what we're doing is running as many end user computes as you've got. We're running mini projects around each of these with the traceability to show them closing out. And then we've got the resolution, description, justification here. So that's sort of creating our new end user compute. But from looking at this through the other end of the telescope, the most important thing is at a macro level, actually, how am I doing on these retirements? So if we go back to our reporting, Sanjay, first, can we see the EUC triage state?
Sure.
So we've got a series of reports here to help us manage this process through to eliminating the end user computes. So the end user compute triage state, I can have a look at my portfolio real time and see how many have I got in each bucket, how many are overdue, how many are on time. I can look at different dates. I can look at different states if needed. I can only I can have a look at just the overdues. But this we can also drill down on these, so we can see which ones we want to look at, and then I can look at actually what are my high risk, what are my red ones that I really care about in these. So Sanjay, if we go back now to the retirement timeline.
Sure, Phil.
So because I've got the dates when I'm expecting everything to be retired, I can actually start doing some forward looking on this. The top half of this graph tells me on the dates that I'm expected to actually start retiring and how many I'm starting retiring. And then I get a burn down graph of over the future time. Actually, by the end of May, or it's going to be June 2023, I've got rid of all of my EUCs. And because I've got all the dates in there, I've got the reporting, I can do active tracking of this and drive this as I'm going through. Now, the reality is you will also have new EUCs coming online. So there's always going to be some upwards decay on this graph, but it's real time. So as the portfolio changes, you can see that burn down graph and see what you've got left. And when we're talking to clients, we're actively doing an end user compute elimination for a client at the moment. We talk about sort of like percentages per year rather than sort of like when do you get to zero to start with. Now, if we start looking at this by owner, so we can start to see, are there any particular, the MI report for owner.
Okay, sure. I go back, click on EUC by user. Yep.
Yep. So I can look at my overall end user compute population here, but I can now pick out an owner and I can start to look at individuals, who owns what, and then which ones do they own. So all of these are updatable real time. Sanjay also showed the issues and risks on the homepage, and really sort of managing your portfolio of end user computes, if you are that senior manager with the oversight responsibility, being able to make sure those issues and risks are being managed is absolutely critical. And again, you can raise the issues and risks or the actions that need to be taken with the risk levels, the impact levels, so you can make sure that you're on top of your high risk, high impact items. So Sanjay, can we go to the overdue risk report?
Sure. There you go.
So in here, we can see, again, we can filter it by custom ranges or whether we're looking for next month, next quarter. I can see which issues or which risks are overdue, what dates they're coming due, and some extra information around those. So I can be constantly managing this portfolio without having to have the largest of ironies of having spreadsheets that manage portfolios and issues and risks around the spreadsheet population. So it's a great way of keeping that risk under control. And then we've got an MI report on the, if we go back to which EUCs have got our most issues, risks or actions against them. So we can have a look at actually where do we think our risk is, just looking at this from a different direction. Because we've got all this underlying data, we can start managing risk by saying, actually, which ones have got the most problems, and then apply filters or look at ones that are in particular triage states. So I could look at this just for data quality, for example, and see which ones are my biggest issue ones for data quality. Good. So that's our very quick run through of End User Compute Manager. Anand, back to you for questions and answers if anything's come through on the line.
Perfect. There are, thank you, Sanjay, first of all, for walking us through the demo, and for people who are dialed in, if you need further information, if you need a walkthrough, there is a lot of material that is available. You can ping us at marketing@accolitedigital.com. I'll also share a similar handle from Nextwave team, and more than happy to set up a conversation should there be an ask on what else you can look at it from an integration. So Phil, there are a couple of questions I see that have come into the group that we have created, and one of them is, how quickly could this be implemented and what level of integration is required from a solution perspective?
So from the way it's been built, if you didn't want to integrate it into your internal systems, you could pretty much take it as it is and deploy it, particularly if you're already using Appian with things like single sign-on. But it'd be a relatively simple task to configure it with what drop-downs you would like, and to validate sort of things like systems lists. Even adding additional data, if people would like, that can be done very, very quickly with Appian. If you wanted to integrate it to things like IT asset registers, it would depend how easy that is from an organization perspective, but Appian makes that very, very quick. So you're talking sort of like weeks to get this up and running. And we would typically allow, sort of like with an integration phase, a maximum sort of integrate into a couple of systems for domain purposes, a data onload, because these end user compute lists typically do exist in places already, but we would say 8 weeks from start to finish, you'll be up and running.
Thank you, Phil. There is this one question that has come in, and it's for you and Sanjay. Is this a cloud hosted solution? Is Appian as a software, is cloud native? Is it already hosted on the cloud? So just an audience wants to know that. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, I can take that again. So Appian does have an on-premise option, but we purely work on the software as a service in the cloud. It's hosted on AWS from a Appian perspective. And whenever I've used Appian, both on current clients and previously, it's been in this cloud configuration because I've had projects where the contract's been signed to use Appian and you're up and running the next day with all of the access that you need. Just, it's so quick. So, and I think everyone's sort of getting their head around sort of cloud security these days. Appian have got all of the relevant certifications that you could possibly want. It's used by some of the biggest finance organizations on the planet. So we would always, at Nextwave, recommend going the cloud route, and you get all the benefits of that clearly from a cost perspective, but also the underlying infrastructure and the like.
Cool, thank you, Phil. There's this one question, I think you covered it part of your presentation, but I'll still post the question because that has come in. And if there is any additional content that you have, the question states, what typical challenges is experienced in eliminating EUCs, and how does this solution help from a benefits perspective, from a benefit curve perspective?
Yeah, so like the typical challenges with any end user compute is getting time off of people to provide the information so you can manage it on top. Nobody who's doing this in their day job, and it's line people that own these end user computes. Nobody in their sort of like day job is got hours to spare to be doing these things. So it needs to be made a priority in the management directive that capturing the portfolio, capturing this information is key. But that can then lead on to secondary problems that quite often these spreadsheets are And I use the term spreadsheets, could be any EUC technology, but 99% of the ones I've ever seen are spreadsheets. They get handed down between people, and that institutional knowledge of what it did and how it works leaves the organisation in one form or another. So there are people out there running spreadsheets. They don't know how the mechanics of it within it work. And that's an operational risk in itself if you get inputs coming in and that change, and how do you do changes. So we would always recommend having a small team of like Excel experts who can help in these scenarios to do that sort of triage and help sort of get up that first step of the process.
Cool, Phil. I think there is this one question which has just come in. I think I know the answer, but I'm gonna lead with it, and please add if anything. It says, what version of Appian the solution is built? I believe it's 22.1.
Right.
Yeah. So I think those were some of the questions, and for the audience, should there be additional questions which you feel are something that you require to be answered, and if you require to book a demo specifically on that sort to evaluate and experiment and learn more about the solution, please feel free. And I'd like to thank Phil, Sanjay, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for walking us through the demo. And one from a business perspective, Phil, your thought process, your view of the whole landscape was instrumental in building the accelerator. Thank you for that. And Sanjay, his architecture knowledge and the Appian knowledge itself was quite instrumental. So thank you so much for contributing towards the build out of this accelerator. And it was very exciting to have Accolite and Nextwave join up and work on that. And similar to this, there is a next set of sessions that are planned. The next session on LinkedIn Live for Accolite is on the digital architecture that needs to be built, what we call it, the digital fluency within the telco. So please join us for that session, 26th of May. And with that, I would like to bring the conversation to a conclusion. Thank you so much, everyone, for dialing in. And before I say really thank you, I'll check with Phil if he has anything else to add. Otherwise, Phil?
Nothing else to add. Just say thank you to everyone for giving you time up to listen to this. And thank you to Anand for hosting.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone, and stay safe. Thank you.